So welcome back, everybody. My name's Andrew and you're watching the Kelley's Country Life. And as you just seen, I made a set of tools yesterday afternoon to help me start sheathing today. But here we are with another daily dilemma. So I got up really early this morning, like 6 a.m. Ran to the hardware store because I had to pick up a few things to get started today. Checked the radar, absolutely nothing on it. Then, all of a sudden, while I'm in the hardware store, lightning starts, thunder, rain. So I've come back here. Right now, it's kind of calmed off. The radar is blowing up everywhere around me. I have seen probably 100 lightning bolts this morning, and it's early. Typically, we do not get lightning storms and violent storms this early in the morning. This is crazy. They're calling for 80% chance of rain today, 50 or 60 the rest of the week. I don't know what to do anymore other than just go for it, but I'm so worried about getting this OSB wet. As y'all seen, I've already done a little test. It's making me feel better. OSB is actually handling water a lot better than I thought. My big concern is get all these walls sheathed, have exposed corners, blowing rain comes in from time to time, and the forecast stays like junk for the next several weeks and I can't tear the plastic down. Now I have exposed stuff out here. I can wrap it in a certain way to protect it, but it's not going to be the proper way to wrap it because I really need to have sheathing to do all my proper wrapping. Hard to explain. So I'm out here pondering life's little question. To sheathe or not to sheathe? I think we're going to go for it. My goodness, y'all been giving me a hard time about not doing this. I have a ton of stuff I could do inside. Electrical, more blocking, all kinds of stuff. But I think we're going to go get the tractor, grab a bunch of sheathing against my better judgment, and I got to figure out where to put this stuff. No matter where I put it with the tractor and sawhorses, I mean, I guess I could pull it off sheet by sheet and put it in here. I just don't want blowing rain to get it in case I'm stalled for several days. All right, a sheathing episode. I'll show you those tools I made too because I'm trying to figure out how to do this by myself. Let's get started. right, well, as you can see behind me, I've already had to move the OSB one time. It was getting wet over there by the edge. The rain has slacked off just enough, although I see it coming back already to where you should be able to hear me and I feel comfortable enough to get to work. There's a lot of lightning in this stuff this morning too. Again, I don't play that. So let me go ahead and preface this video by saying I do not have a clue what I'm doing with sheathing. Never done it before. With that said, I have researched a lot, watched a lot of YouTube videos, Googled, went to a lot of garage journal forums, and I've taken some bits and pieces from a lot of what people have recommended. So if you see something, by all means let me know. Maybe we can get it redone before things are too permanently down there. So, like I typically do, sheathing and wrapping the exterior is one of the most critical things in my mind to do for a home. So I have went a little above and beyond. For example, I bought an entire case, quite an expensive case, of zip flashing tape. I'm gonna seal every single seam for an air barrier for all the nail penetrations. And it's also going to help with any potential water intrusion that could ever get behind the tie bag. This is a step you don't typically do for OSB. It's normally used for zip sheathing. However, it says it's rated perfectly fine to stick to a lot of the stuff that I'm using. I also bought a nice J roller to really kind of push this stuff in. So I want to seal the house out as best as I possibly can from bugs, from moisture, and from air. I'm starting to read how critical that is. You're going to see me do some odd things. I guess there's nothing to it but to do it, like I often say. Let's go ahead and get started. And I think I'm going to start down here on this end, kind of work my way back. I've done pulled a tape. All the joists seem to line up from that direction. I remember building the wall and starting from that way over here. And then what we may have to do for this weather is start a wall and get it mostly done until I get near a corner, and then take off on another wall, get it mostly done until I get to a corner, and find a dry day or so to really finish the corners out, get the thumbs up from the inspector, and wrap it real quick. So this is just going to be figuring this whole thing out moving forward. I don't really know how we're going to do with this stinking weather that we're having. All right, so before we get started, let's talk about a couple of very important points here. And I'll advise you to check your codes in your area, but I believe some of these are national codes or manufacturer codes. So I want to go ahead and let everybody know before they panic and see all the nails I'm putting in. We're in a hurricane zone. I have to follow the plans. I have to follow engineering. And the inspector was very clear on that. So every 4 inches on the edge, I have to put in a ring shank galvanized nail is what I'm choosing to use. But I believe it's an 8-penny nail, 2.5 inches, if I remember correctly from what the plans say. That's what all my nails are. Now out in the field, everywhere there is a stud, I have to do every 8 inches. So 4 inches on the edge, 8 in the field. He's very specific that he was going to come out and actually measure and check that from time to time. The other thing that he wanted, and the manufacturer also recommends it, anytime you butt 2 pieces together, they want an 1/8-inch gap for expansion and contraction. He said he was going to be checking that. So one of the little things you see me build yesterday, this happens to be 1/8-inch thick steel right here. And I have designed this little piece to where it will slip over the edge of one board that's already installed. I shoot 2 screws in. Now I'm ready to butt my next board right here. So it's got catches to keep the board from falling out on me since I'm doing this by myself. And all I gotta do is shoot 2 screws in, take it out and move it, and it already presets my 1/8-inch gap for me. So I'll just pop a couple nails in, take this back out, and I'm perfectly spaced. Again, these little tabs help hold the next board on for me. Now the last thing he said he was gonna be extremely specific about was how deep I'm driving my nails. He said they can be driven no more than 10% into this OSB right here, but he prefers for them to be flush. So that's absolutely critical, because if you overdrive a nail all the way through, you've just lost a lot of the strength of this. Keep in mind, if you were to drive them completely through, this could just tear right off. There'd be absolutely no point in even having the sheathing on the side. It's not giving you that strength that you need. So he wants the nail sitting just flush or barely under flush. So we're gonna have to really adjust out and be critical on that. Now a couple other little tools that I built me. I made some hangers here, I'll show you in just a little bit, that actually bolt to the side of my scaffolding since I'll be putting OSB up in the air. Keeps them from falling over. Didn't get these painted in time because I forgot to build them yesterday. These are some little tabs I'm going to bead in under the bottom plate to help hold my OSB on there and actually attach it. And then I made a couple little tabs here that you screw in up top, and then I can drop another piece down in. I'll show all this in use. I've been really trying to think this through to make sure I have exactly what I need to help me out here. And if I have to, I'll just call in reinforcements and may have to find a day that somebody's able to take off, come over and help me out. All right, so here's where my OCD may get the best of me at times, but I've been laying awake at night thinking, how can I make for sure the edges of this OSB, the bottom edge, never soaks up too much moisture or has a problem. Say I'm out here pressure washing the porch, or when this gets on the outside edge of the building. If rain's hitting the ground, knocking mud back up, I don't want this bottom edge of this OSB, even though there is going to be hardy board right here, it's still exposed down to the elements. So I just did not like that. I understand they've got slightly painted edges, that should help. But if y'all seen that testing that I've done, the painted edge was worse in water than a cut edge. So that's been bothering me. So I bought a bunch of this nice zip sheathing tape right here, and I'm going to try something a little crazy. I think I'm going to wrap the bottom edge of all the OSB going around the house. And I'm going to try to do it in such a way I can also still seal up the nail holes. So let me show you what I have in mind here. This might be crazy, but who cares? Oh, this stuff is unbelievably sticky. So this is a rubber butyl, basically, backed kind of tape right here. Really good stuff. A lot of manufacturers use it. So my thought process is wrap it about 1 inch around the backside. This stuff apparently really likes friction to stick well, so that's why they always recommend a roller. So I'm just rolling it on the back side. And my thought is to roll it on around the edge. All right, now I'm not going to bring it all the way around, because what I want to do is nail my bottom and then seal over the nail holes. You might as well just go ahead, since I'm going through all this trouble, and do it right. So I've got it completely sealed to the back side, completely sealed to the bottom edge. Now I've got a truly waterproof edge that should never wick up moisture, at least in my mind. For no more than the tape cost, although it's not cheap, this kind of seems worth it to me to do. So now let's go ahead and put our first piece up. All right, next we have an issue here. Because I was required, with this being kind of a shear wall, catching a lot of wind load and being a hurricane zone, it's required to strap every single stud on the end walls. Well, these metal straps right here cause an uneven surface going all the way down. So I can just slap this up and nail it to it, but I'm gonna have tons of air gaps everywhere. I can caulk from the inside, and I plan on doing that, but I wanna make sure I get a really good seal to keep bugs, to keep moisture out, air, etc. Keep in mind, at the end of a house build, you have to pass what's called a blower door test, where they kind of do a pressurization on the house and give you a, I can't even remember the name of the number, but the better sealed your house, the better chance you have of passing that test. So since all the flashing tapes that I'm seeing out there, the really good quality stuff, uses what's called a rubber butyl, if I remember the name correctly, I picked up some butyl flex. So hard to say. They make it in white and black. The majority of the time you find it in black. That's what I wanted, but all my local guy had was white. I've actually ordered butyl tape that's like 3/4 of an inch wide, 1 inch thick, that I was planning on putting on the back side of the board or running all the way down here, that would really seal. But Amazon has decided to really hold my order up. It's going to be a few days before I get it. So I bought a couple tubes of this to get me by. But I'm thinking if I really seal this OSB to this bottom plate right here, it's going to really help me with that blower door test. Then again, I'm going to come inside, seal the bottom plate to the floor, and probably seal the OSB to the bottom plate on this top gap down here. It's kind of going above and beyond, but I really want a nice airtight house. All right, now lastly, I'm going to hammer in these little helpers that I made. Got a nice blunt edge. Just going to put them in under the bottom plate, just enough that it'll hold the sheet for me since I'm out here by myself. All right, something important that I forgot to do was mark where my water lines are. All right, so I'm gonna go ahead and put a few nails in up top to hold this, get my little holders out from the bottom, then I can pull the tape back, which is barely tacked on, nail the bottom in, and then seal my tape up and move on nailing the rest of this. Now again, I have to pay close attention to how deep I drive these nails. There is a nail tip adjustment right here on the front of these guns. You can move in and out. You can also adjust air pressure. I'll play with both until I find just the right depth that I want to drive. See, that's a little overdriven, so I'm going to start adjusting this tip out. Okay, so I just adjusted the tip out. Let's see what this looks like. Absolutely perfect. That's what the inspector's looking for. Let me show you that. So hopefully this little camera will focus. You can see that's overdriven more than 10%, not what's going to pass code. This one is perfectly flush. Real quick, and we're going to get back to work, because I know I'm going to get asked, why do you have the OSB out and not the other side? The other side actually has some painted lines to match up with studs, although I don't think they have painted lines for 12-inch on center like I am here. I know they have 16, probably 24, so every other stud. So you've seen that I had to take a T-square real quick and zip these lines down it to make sure I'm hitting studs all the way down. So I want to read you something right from Weyerhaeuser's website. We have a Weyerhaeuser mill 18 miles down the road, a wood mill, and this is what they say about their OSB, because there's been a big debate, and we've had some discussion on the channel too about which is the proper way to put, because this side right here actually says this side down. Well, down is for roofing and flooring, to my understanding. So from Weyerhaeuser's website, I didn't find this exact information on, this is GP, yeah, right here, but for OSB, it says the grade stamps intended to be installed down. This is the grade stamp sign. This says installed down. This says it's for unfinished flooring, so viewing can be from underneath. So say that loft, if that was a second story, and you went ahead and put something over the top, carpet, whatever else, it's supposed to be so the inspector can come in and read the grade stamp from underneath, it says. Now, our inspector around here doesn't seem to care too much about that. I'm meeting what the plans say. He's happy with that. So it doesn't matter if it's inside or out. Now here's the thing. It says, by installing the stamps down the rougher side of the panels, which this back side is rough, this is a slick side, is kept upward, which helps keep traction for the worker on the job site. Everything I have found says rough side up and out on roofs especially, and floors, for safety and safety reasons only. We happen to live in a country now that everybody sues everybody for something. So it seems like they just recently, over the last probably few decades, started making a rough side on OSB simply so people wouldn't slide off the roof while working or off the floor. And then right here it says, structurally there is no difference how the panel will perform whether the side with the grade stamps is installed up or down, in or out. That's straight from the website. Structurally makes no difference. Now the reason I'm doing this slick, kind of waxy side out, whether this is true or not, I have read it enough that people say this waxy side is more weather resistant. It kind of feels like it would be. The other side's rough and feels almost like it would be spongy, although I didn't really see that in my moisture test. But because I'm so concerned about moisture out here, I really want the slick waxy side out. There's no safety concerns here. I'm not walking up a wall. So that's why I'm doing what I'm doing, and I'm not worried about the few little painted lines on the back. I'm always going to draw lines to make sure I hit everything anyways with the T-square. So I thought I'd bring that up because I know I'm going to get asked that. Why did you install it this way? So I just went to start editing and realized I forgot to include an outro. I forgot to record one. So let's do a quick recap of our first day finally doing some sheathing. Now, yes, we did not get much done, but lightning and rain all morning, so it was a heck of a hold up to get started. Plus there's a learning curve here, as there is with anything. And I'm making it take longer by doing the zip tape and the butyl rubber and really sealing this up. I mean, now's the time to do it right. It's extremely important to keep water and air, make your house airtight. I think that's one of the more critical parts of this entire build right here. So, first thoughts. I already see some things I would like to share. I'm sure some of y'all know this, but doing it by yourself, man, it's tough. So, one screw up that I did was I went ahead and cut this entire window out. And luckily, I only cut one window before ding, 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 the light went off. I said, hey, wait a minute. I just cut this sheet right here that should have come further out here and be my support to put my next sheet on. So I had to kind of do some finagling with clamps up there and really hold everything to keep it from dropping. So what I'm doing from here on out the rest of the build, leave this sheet intact, don't cut out the window yet, so whenever I put this next sheet up, I've got a lip to set it on and space everything off of. And then I'm going ahead and snapping chalk lines to where my window openings are. So once I get the whole wall done, then come back and cut the windows out. So I'm sure a lot of y'all know that. I didn't think about that, but luckily it only took me one window to figure out you need to leave all your sheathing there so you have a reference line to space everything off of. Now these little tools are a lifesaver. I need to go build me one more of these. This thing is absolutely making this possible to work by myself. So for example, the edge lip of this is 1/8 of an inch, which is the gap that I'm setting and is required by code and by the manufacturer. So I'm putting this in, screwing it in right there. It's giving me these little tabs to drop my next sheet in so it doesn't kick out on me, and it's spacing. What I also want to do, because you've got to do 1/8 inch on the bottom, 1/8 inch on the side, I want to make 2 of these. So I can have one down here helping me out, and one spacing the 1/8 inch over here on the side. And both of them again are keeping the sheet from kicking out. So it's working out really well. Glad I built that little tool. Now coming up on the next episode, I've got some more little tools to help me start getting up higher. So my thought process here is I'm stopping from not going all the way to the corner until we get a couple days that aren't 80% like we're getting every day this week. So I'm gonna just stair step it up. Next episode, I'll do some sheets up there and make it all the way to the top, and it'll just be stair step down. And I may go ahead and start working on around the house. I get a couple of days, it's a low chance of rain. Then I'll come peel this plastic off the corner, wrap everything, tack the house wrap on, and put the regular plastic back, and I'm completely sealed so my edges aren't constantly getting wet from rain coming in. And if I see a big enough gap on the radar, I'll do that even on a rainy looking day. I just got to have the time to put the rest of the sheets up. So we'll play that by ear. I got a lot of sheathing under the porch that I can do before I come back and kind of finish everything off. And I'm gonna need a really good weather window before I tear all the plastic off the house and start into that. In the meantime, there's electrical and a bunch of other stuff to do. So hopefully you enjoyed this episode with the little tool building, and we have finally started sheathing, finally. I know there wasn't much done. We'll catch that on the next several episodes. It's going to take me a good little while to sheathe this house by myself, and I am very curious about sheathing way up there by myself. If these tools don't help me out with this scaffold and it feels way too dangerous, I'm just going to have to call somebody in. That may delay it just a little bit, but no big deal. Again, moving inside, I've already got me a running list of a bunch of other stuff that I need to do. All right, well, we are officially wrapping this one up, and we'll get the next one started for you. I gotta go do some editing. Thank y'all so much for watching.